I'm Chubba Chetta with Car and Driver, and I'm here with the Tesla Model S. It's the second product from Tesla Motors, a company founded in 2003 by a bunch of Silicon Valley brainiacs. Their idea at Tesla was to build a car company of the future, which in their mind meant electric-powered cars. Their first product was the Roadster. Hit the market in 2008. It was basically a very heavily modified Lotus Elise, a small two-seat mid-engine sports car. Had a giant battery pack, a powerful electric motor, and was very quick. But it was basically a toy for Hollywood environmentalists. The Model S, on the other hand, is a mainstream luxury sedan. It's big, it's got 4 doors, it's got plenty of seating inside. It's going to sell for less money, starting at under $50,000. So let's take a look at this car and see how it works. The mechanical layout of the Model S is very different than a conventional car. The 416 horsepower motor in this Model S is basically on the left side of the car, just behind the rear axle. So technically it's a rear engine car, and the battery itself is in a giant tray that's under the floor of the car. It's very heavy, it weighs over 1,300 pounds, so putting it low is a really good thing because it lowers the center of gravity of the Tesla. We measured the center of gravity height of a Model S and it was just over 17 inches. That's about the same height as a Corvette and much lower than any other 4-door sedan. Now that huge battery tray, it's filled with over 7,000 18650 cells. This is what an 18650 cell looks like. And it's the type of cell you see in a laptop. These are all stacked vertically in the Tesla's battery tray. There's also extensive cooling circuitry running through there to make sure that the battery doesn't get too hot or too cold. Using the 10 kilowatt charger, which requires a standard electric dryer circuit, this Model S charges in about 10 hours. With the optional 20 kilowatt charger, that comes down to 5 to 6 hours. On any car, the first thing you notice is the styling. And I think this Model S is absolutely beautiful. It's both sleek and muscular looking. You look at these front and rear fenders and the way they bulge out. We also have giant 21-inch wheels on this model. We have a continuous roof line all the way from the base of the windshield to the tail of the car. We've got a nice wedge shape as the car is leaning forward. All of this talks about speed and power, and sure enough, it has 416 horsepower, so it ought to look muscular. Now the sleek part is very practically driven. Even with this big battery, you don't want to be running the electric motor harder than necessary, so reducing the aerodynamic drag is very important. Tesla claims that this car has a drag coefficient of 0.24, which is about the lowest of any production car on the market. I really find that hard to believe. It's impossible to imagine how Tesla could do better than BMW or Mercedes in that regard. On the other hand, when you start thinking about the car, it is an electrically powered car. You look at the underbody of the Tesla and it's flat. That's where the battery is. No exhaust system to disturb the airflow, no drive shaft. The Model S front end looks conventional at a glance, but when you look at it more closely, you see this upper part. This is opaque plastic. It's not a grille like it would be in a normal car, and that's because it's an electric motor. It doesn't need a radiator. There are some heat exchangers down here for the air conditioner and the power electronics, but it doesn't need nearly as much airflow to cool the car as a regular one does. So they have a certain number of advantages with the electric design that helps them achieve that low drag coefficient. So let me pop the hood on this Tesla. There's no engine here. And that's because the electric motor is actually backed by the rear axle. So what we have on the Tesla is another luggage compartment up here. It's not huge, it's about 5 cubic feet, but this is actually a perfect size and height to put grocery bags in and not have everything flopping over. It's one of the advantages of having the electric power plant. In back, the Model S has another trunk. It's a hatchback. This top-of-the-line version has the power-operated hatch lid, and this gives you another 26 cubic feet or so of luggage space. This area on its own is bigger than any of the competitors have, And if you fold down those two back seats, you have a total of over 60 cubic feet of carrying capacity. So this is a remarkably practical car for a sedan. This model is also equipped with the optional rearward-facing third row seat, which is basically for kids. They have to be a little over 3 feet tall to use it, and they got to weigh less than 77 pounds. So it's not going to work for everybody, but if you got kids between 5 and 10 years old, you can carry 2 more of them in this car. The interior of this Model S is very rich looking in sort of a minimalist Bauhaus way. You look at these door panels, it's hand-stitched leather, different colors top and bottom. That same theme continues through the dashboard. Nice color contrast, nice stitching, beautifully finished. This is really lovely wood. In truth, I don't know if it's real or fake, but it feels real. It's actually got texture to it, and it doesn't have that overly glossy finish like so many woods do. I have no trouble finding a really good driving position in this car. This whole steering column seems to look like it came straight from Mercedes-Benz. The stalks and the controls are pure Mercedes, but Tesla has put its own unique trim on the steering wheel. The seat is very comfortable, but it's not really a sporty seat. It doesn't have a huge amount of lateral support. It does have a few missing options though. A lot of the luxury cars in this segment have an adjustable thigh support. This car doesn't have that. In fact, it doesn't even seem to have a memory seat, which is an unusual omission in a car of this class. But still, I've been very comfortable driving this car for hours at a time. There's not a lot of storage bins inside this car. In this central console where most cars would have a nice opening, there's actually some electronics that powers something or other. There is this big bin down on the floor here, there's another piece in here, and Tesla has talked about maybe adding more bins somewhere in here. But as far as a closed bin like most cars have,